Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
Woo! And I'm a very happy and awesome allower, Stephanie Orlina, Transformational Life Coach in San Diego, California. Thank you, Collin.
And we also have with us today...
I'm Kelley Worster. I'm piped in from Maine. Happy to be here.
Kelley.
Hi.
We want to thank you so much for listening or watching to this episode today. We just want to let you know we often mention Abraham-Hicks and Esther Hicks. If you're not familiar with them, Esther is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. You can find more about them by Googling or searching on YouTube for Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks. You can also find out more about them online at abraham-hicks.com. We start our conversation on this podcast from a different jumping off point each week. And we have my sister, chiropractor, Dr. Kelley Worster, here from Portland, Maine, on the episode with us again. She was with us last week and has returned. Thank you so much, Kelley, for being with us again. And you said you had a jumping off point for us this week. So what
Yeah, I heard this great story called Story of the Chinese Farmer. And it reads, there was a man in a village that had a horse, and that horse ran away. And all the people in the village came to the man and said, we're so sorry, your horse ran away, that's just terrible. And he said, well, maybe. And the next day, the horse came back, but brought 12 other wild horses with him. And everyone in the village said, wow, we thought you lost your only one. Now you have several. That's wonderful. And he said, well, maybe. And this man had a son. And while he and his son were taming these wild horses, his son was riding one of them and he got bucked off the horse and he broke his leg. And the people of the village came to his home and said, I'm so sorry, your son broke his leg. That's so terrible, this has happened. He said, well, maybe. And the next day, there was a war and the military came to the village to draft these young men. And they came to this man's house for his son. And his son can't go to battle because he's got an injury. And the people in the village said, what a blessing. Because he broke his leg, he doesn't have to go off to war. And the father said, maybe. So the person telling the story that I heard said, the point is we don't have the perspective of what's going to happen in the future. And when we don't have the perspective, we don't understand whether what happens in our life is good or bad. And we just need to understand that there's a lot of things at work in the universe, and what we think is good may not be good, and what we think is bad may not be bad.
Dang.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and I think it's that whole jumping off point where, we get what we want, but then we have a new viewpoint. And then there's always more asking from there. Like for me, because for so long I've wanted to be in a relationship where, we're lovers and best friends, because I've never experienced that in this lifetime as of yet. And I'm like, okay, so then I get it. I think my life's going to be perfect and I'm going to be joyous, happy, and free. And it's like, no, because he's going to do something that, you know what I mean? And there's going to be some new thing. And so, wow. That's brilliant to be in that place of maybe, I can't even imagine being there.
It reminded me, and I've talked to you guys a little bit about this already, but it reminded me of this car accident that I was in last October. And when it happened, I lost a very awesome car that I was important to me. But not just that was material, but the accident profoundly affected my life in many ways. Physically, I have healed from my injuries. I'm still emotionally recovering from the accident. And at the time I thought, well, I attracted an accident. I must be bad. Like I did something wrong. I was feeling negative emotions. And I just need to turn this around and make sure that I don't continue to, put out the vibration of, bring bad things to me. And at the time, there was no way for me in my human state to know how I attracted it and why I attracted it and what the end game was for it. And I still don't know. Some things that have happened from it. Because of the injuries, I ended up going to physical therapy with a colleague that I have wanted to go to for years and I've needed for years. And so it launched me into this care that I have needed for a long time. And now physically, I'm actually in much better condition.
Yeah.
I'm much healthier than I was prior to the accident. Prior to the accident, I was having a lot of migraines and a lot of physical ailments that just hung on and bothered me, and were becoming very troublesome in my life. And now I don't have those things.
That's
So,
huge, Kelly. Oh my gosh.
yeah. So that's one of the things. I mean, this is multifaceted, but and it reminded me of the story of the Chinese farmer, and like, walking away from that accident, sitting on the sidewalk and watching, the ambulances arrive and my car be totaled. It's just like I had no way of knowing at the time. So, and Collin's talked about this friend of mine many times, many years ago, I almost think 10 years ago or so, she said, regardless of what I said, she would say, why do you need to judge that? And
That's so
shout out to Kelly. My bud Kelly. But there's no reason to judge that accident at the time, because I had no way of knowing what was coming. And so it occurred to me, why not in a situation like that? Yeah, there were things, I wasn't sleeping because of the injuries were painful and all this stuff. But instead, coming at it from a source of curiosity of, if this is for my highest good, if I place my demands upon the universe and this is for my highest good, I wonder what's going to happen next. I wonder what this course of events will bring me to make my life better. If things are always working out for me, which I continue to believe, regardless of what's happening, and what we lovingly refer to as appearance bullshit, because sometimes don't be fooled by appearances. Don't be fooled by the fact that your luxury car that you paid a lot for is being towed away. Don't be fooled by, how do you not be fooled by that?
Yeah.
And honestly, it's through
bullshit.
having the stability of the resources of you and Collin, that we talk regularly about the law of attraction, art of allowing. I have this podcast I can listen to every week, and I listen to it every Monday on my way to work, because it just helps me redirect and be like, this is what's really important, not the BS that I've been thinking about for the last 12 hours.
Yeah.
So anyway, that story of the Chinese farmer really hit me that way. I hope that can be helpful to someone.
Yeah, so just want to say the co-creation station research team has informed me that that originally was the original form of it was called the story or tale of Sei Weng, Seiweng, and it was in a collection of ancient Chinese essays that goes back. It's about 2,000 years old.
Wow.
I believe it made its way into like the American culture, because I think the American philosopher Alan Watts gave a talk at one point and he retold the story. So I had heard it many years ago, and it's like, yeah, whenever you hear it, it's like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, even if you don't believe in the law of attraction or anything, like that story is just like true. Like, it's like we all experience things where like you've had an event in your life at the time you thought it was terrible, and then you have another event later on that's really good for you, and you put it together like, oh, but if I hadn't had that bad thing happen, this good thing wouldn't have happened, and so yeah, it's a really powerful story. I try to remind myself of that as often as I can. it's uncomfortable sometimes because, you know, like when the really good thing happens, they're like, oh, you should be happy. And he's like, no. You know, but I think where it circles around for me with the art of allowing and the law of attraction is I was thinking about this yesterday also, that um, because I think a couple of episodes back we talked about like what do you if you attract something bad like a car accident, like what should you do about that? And I think the mistake a lot of us make, and I definitely have made this, is to start focusing on like, well, how can I not attract any more car accidents? That car accident was really bad, and I don't want to have another one. So how can I? No. And like, I think again that the risk there is you're getting into a vibration where you're
A
focusing on
momentum.
a car
Yeah.
accident, and
Building
you're not
momentum.
focusing on not attracting a car accident. You're focusing on attracting another car accident. So I mean, honestly, when something that you've at the time feels bad, looks bad, something you didn't want, whatever, like my honest advice to anybody is just accept it and move forward. Because to your point in the story of Sei Wang, it could absolutely be something that's going to work out really well for you. It's just that's in the future and you're not there yet. But from a vibrational standpoint, it's like we still go back to the same principle, which is if you have a great vibration going, you're gonna attract great things into your life. And so if you spend any time thinking about something that you didn't like or you think shouldn't have happened, you're in the danger of attracting more stuff. Wayne Dyer has a great story he used to tell where it's pretty late in his life where he had this amazing vibration going 24/7, 365. He thought he was only attracting good things. He was really focused on attracting good health, and he was like feeling great and everything. And then he had some sort of episode, went to the doctor and said, oh, you're about to have a heart attack. We have to put you in the hospital. And he was furious because he's like, I am taking such good care of my vibration. Like, what are you talking about? I can't be having a heart attack. And they're like, you're having heart issues. We need to put you in the hospital. And he was just like so angry, like just filled with rage. Like, I work on my vibration every day. And then he got put in the hospital room, and he was in the hospital room with two other people who really needed someone to talk to about things that they were going through in their lives. And he was able to talk to them, and he helped them tremendously. And after helping the second person, he went out into the hallway and was like, oh, okay. Like it's that thing that like you've got to trust. I'm also recalling that episode we did to like stay out of the universe's control room.
I love that title.
It's just like you can't. And so like, and it's like Kelly's friend, who's also named Kelly, says too, like the danger of you keeping score is you getting back into this, oh, well, it's all about me. I'm going to control what happens, what doesn't happen. And it's like, it's not your ego. It's not your logical mind. It's your vibration, which comes off your emotions for the most part, which can be and are often spawned by thoughts. But it's like, but when you send your vibration out into the world, like Stephanie, you had an example that you shared with me a while back about, you knew that there was going to be construction in your current home, but you thought it was going to be over in a day.
Yeah.
And you went away and had this amazing 3-day vacation.
Well, and I even remember thinking, like, it's raining. Why did I pick this weekend? Blah, 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 blah. I had fun, but not as much fun as I thought I'd have. But go ahead.
But then it ended up the construction went longer than expected and went all through the time you were away. And when you got back, it was completed. So you didn't have to deal with any of the noise or the inconvenience.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking about that. It's like, that's the thing. If you keep your vibration high and, you know,
or not even high, but like, I like Abraham's like 51% will do you good. You know, if you're 51% feeling better than not, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
So if we're in that 51 to 100% mark.
Yeah. Because I think most people can relate to exactly where your mind was at when you were analyzing, you know, your prior decision to take the vacation, the fact that it rained a lot. That's what we can get kind of caught up in. But the thing is, you have your vibration going so great so often that like you had a good time on the vacation, and you skipped this whole super annoying thing back in your home apartment building.
That blew me away. I remember because I came back home and then immediately as I walk in, she shared this with me, and I went into the restroom to use the bathroom, and I was like,
Yeah.
thank you, God, thank you, higher power, thank you, inner being. Like, you totally had my back on that one. Like, I had no idea.
Also you. I mean, that was you in the sense that we talk about. That was your vibration.
Correct. And I feel like, this is something that I forget, and I think some people do, is that I have a whole non-physical team.
Mm,
Always,
wow.
always, always on my side for whatever it is.
I love
And
that.
so, I was inspired to take, and I feel like that came from all the non-physical support that I had, because I could very easily have said, I'm not going to do it. But that wasn't, I was being pushed to do it. And I just see that just wasn't me. And I hear you, Collin, you're absolutely right. I'm like, oh, my vibration was better than I thought it was, because I definitely had a lot of contrasting thoughts when I was away. And I was like, and I kept working at it, kept listening to Abraham, kept like doing things that, feel better. And so I had moments of like being 49%, 51%, 75%, 80, 48%, I was in that range of, but I often give a shout out to like my spirit team, because there's moments like that where it was like, yeah, you're right, Collin, it was my vibration, and there was something greater than me that was working on my behalf, as it often
you followed
is.
it.
Yeah.
And you listened and you followed it.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it too. Being open to that.
I have the story too
guidance
with you and me, Kelly. I think we've talked about it before on the podcast, but when I first moved to Los Angeles in whenever that was, 2013, I was couch surfing for several months, staying in people's spare room or sleeping on their futon or whatever, trying to find an apartment. And it took way longer than I thought it would. I had arranged a couch surfing arrangement. I was staying in in this particular room, this particular house of an acquaintance. And something happened really unexpected, and the people needed me to leave like immediately. Like I had planned to be there for another several few days.
And it was at night, I think.
Well, the person told me in the morning, I think, when
Okay.
but it was like, you have to be out now. Like you have to leave as soon as possible. So you do not have a place to stay tonight.
Right.
Dang.
And I had not contacted anybody else to cover that night or the next few nights, because I thought, I was going to be staying at this place. So I was literally kind of homeless for a few hours. And I remember being in my my beat up Honda Civic that I had driven from Maine to California in about a year earlier, and parked over on the side of the street somewhere in LA. And I called Kelly, and I'll never forget what you said, because I told you the whole story, and it was just like, it was a bad story about this bad thing that happened to me and landed me in a bad situation that was very scary. It was very upsetting, and like, you just didn't blink, and you said, I don't know how, Collin, but I am certain that somehow that event is crucial for your greatest good.
Oh.
And I just was like, I was blown away by how certain you said that, like the certainty in your voice, because I was like, I couldn't be any further away from that kind of certainty right now. Like, I am not happy. I am very frightened right now. But and then I literally just, it was almost like an Abraham, like, go to the beach and forget about it kind of moment.
Go have fun. Yep.
I was going to go see Stephanie and I's mutual friend Zoe and her boyfriend Zeph, who were in a band, and they lived in San Diego, and they were coming up to Los Angeles to do a show. And I had made arrangements to see the show with my friend Corey, who's an actor and musician in LA. And I just decided to just go to the thing, which felt totally counterintuitive, because it's like, I've got to cancel all my personal plans. What I should do is cancel all my personal plans, start calling people in a panic, everyone I knew in LA, like, oh my God, I don't have to But I didn't do that. It felt weird, but I just went to the show. And Corey said, "How's your housing search going?" before the show started. And I told him the story, and he said, I forget exactly what he said, but it was really funny. He was something like, "Well, this is ridiculous. Give me a minute here." And I was like, "What?" And he like literally got on his phone and just started texting like everyone he knew in Los Angeles, and just said, "My friend Collin needs a place to stay, but he needs like a place to live in LA. Like he's moving here. He needs a place. Does anybody know of an apartment or room in a house or whatever?" And like within an hour, he had a friend, his close friend Mindy, had a sister named Anne, and Mindy's sister Anne lived in a 3-bedroom house where one of the housemates had just left and they were looking for a new housemate. And I slept on Corey's floor that night at his apartment. I will never forget the drive up the 170 to see the place. And I met with Anne, and she said, "Well, the other person who lives here, who's also named Kelly, you just have to clear with her." She's like, you're fine to me, but Kelly will need to approve it as well. So I called my other eventual housemate Kelly, and we talked for a few minutes, and they were like, "You can move in right now if you want." And so I literally like started moving in, like, and that was 24 hours from the phone call with Kelly where she said, "I don't know how, Collin, but
And how long did you live there?
I lived there for 5 years."
So I don't know, this may be a whole other podcast, but just a shout out to, I've heard you tell that story so many times, but not when I'm on the podcast, and I'm in the car and tears are coming. And when you're saying that, because as someone witnessing this, it takes a lot of courage to say with certainty that, make that statement and then hang up and go, "Fuck, my brother's homeless in Los Angeles." Shit, and just be like, "Okay, you have it."
Like, I can't. I mean, it's impossible to reproduce here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I was so negative. Like, I mean, I think most people would have been, but I think I was probably even more negative than most. Like,
toxic sludge. Yeah.
I feel like I probably said something to you, like just catastrophic, like this doomsday kind of like, "Kelly, I'm not going to find a place to live. Like this is it.
I'm sleeping in my car tonight."
Or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in the face of that monologue, your response is even more, noteworthy and impressive that you.
And do you think, Kelly, like that was really like divine intervention? Like you received that was really like spirit coming in and saying, speaking that through your mouth. Yeah. Because I've had moments like that where other people have said things to me and I'm like, that was divine. Like that came from them. It came from source through them.
And I also think it's a great example of get emotions based instead of action based, because what I expected Kelly to say, and I think probably the reason I called her was, for her to give me an action plan, like I'm a mess. I don't know what the frick's going on. Tell me what to do, Kelly. And I just assumed she was going to say, well, start texting your friends, like, is there a Starbucks you can go to like whatever, like definitely don't go to the show tonight. And when instead she just said, somehow this is for your greatest good, like that got us from the details of what was, the appearance bullshit, as Kelly said,
dreaded house,
like all the details of the present, that got me from that, which was not helpful because I was just keeping me in a negative vibration, to, oh yeah, this isn't about those details. This is about what's my vibration. And the best thing I can do right now is go to the show, see my good friend, enjoy some friendship, see my other friends Zoe and Zeph, and listen to their music, and like just enjoy myself, because this is more about, and I didn't think I was going to find the place the next day, but I did know, at least partly because Kelly reminded me in such a great way, that this is not about like, it's not about like how many apartment listings am I going to look at in the next 7 days. This is about, do I have a vibration that is open and willing to welcome in a place to stay, or do I have is my vibration like, oh my God, what if I don't have a place to stay?
Well, and it went from like the problem to the solution. Like there is a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, wow. From being in the weeds to listen to guidance. There's
Mm.
guidance here,
Mm.
you know, listen and follow. And
The power of the divine.
yeah. And I think too, and again, probably a great topic for another podcast is how does someone who happened upon this podcast and has started practicing the art of allowing build a community of people who share that same belief system, you know, and how do you start talking to people about it? And I generally say stuff like I said to Collin to people sometimes that I barely know, you know. So and that then they sort of go like, what? And they ask questions, and then I have somebody else who has a basic understanding of it, and you know, so that can be helpful too. But it helps build those neural pathways to have reinforcements, to have a community that that has an understanding of it. It can be very supportive.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
Great
Great
discussion.
conversation.
Good to see you, girl. Thanks for
too.
being here with us.
We want to thank you so much for listening or watching today. Sorry, I'm on the wrong script. Threw myself off here. Because I wanted to highlight this song. Somebody mentioned something. We are posting a brand new episode every Monday morning for you at this point. We truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support us. All our social media links and our email address are down in the doodly-doo and YouTube below. We wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.